Hello, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of Padel Smash Academy. Today, we're so excited to have Austin Edwards, the mastermind behind State of Paddle. And we are all things paddle. Welcome, Austin, to the podcast. Thank you for taking the time to be with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited. First podcast I've ever been on. So
Good, man. Excited. There's always a first for everything. So we were so intrigued when we read your what would you call it? Is it a newsletter? It's an email?
I guess maybe blog, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
I'd like to think that we evolved to something bigger than that, but yeah, for now probably a blog would be the right.
I mean, it's absolutely extremely informative. So I really love the information that you put in there, and I want to. First of all, tell us who's Austin Power and how did you find out about paddle?
Yeah, so I have kind of a funny story with my paddle background. Like most people, I was actually just listening to Ben Nichols' interview that you all did before this. Like him, I started out as a competitive tennis player, grew up in Colorado. All through high school, played a lot of tennis. The college I went to had a really good D1 tennis program that I was not good enough to play on. So got to college, discovered squash, which is something my dad loved. Started playing a bunch of that, just fell in love with squash. Then fast forward about 10 years, it's probably like 2012. I was living in New Orleans and we had 3 little squash courts there at a gym, basically. And I was in best shape of my life, playing best squash in my life, feeling pretty good about myself. And one day I'm playing on the court, I turn around and there's this guy standing there. It looks like a Calvin Klein underwear model or something. I mean, this guy every girl in the gym, including my girlfriend, is looking at him. And I was kind of like, what's this guy doing? And come off the court, and he was from Spain, limited English. It was obvious that he wanted to play squash. He didn't have any rackets, anything. And I was kind of, thinking I was pretty hot shot at that point. I asked him, "What do you play squash?" And he says, "No, but I am paddle pro." And I was like, I don't know what that means. Like, does that mean you're good at racket sports or whatever? And so finally I loan him a racket, go out there. Can't remember if we were playing at 9 or 11 at that point, but he beat me like 11-0.
Really?
And I'm asking him again. I'm like, so you play a lot of squash, right? And he's like, no, I'm paddle pro. And I was like, why does this guy keep saying that? What does that mean? And he was in New Orleans for another 6 months. We got to be really good friends. And slowly over time, I discovered that paddle was this huge sport that I didn't know existed and that he truly was a pro. He had his names on his bats and everything. And so that kind of put it into my brain. At that point, he invited me a few times to go to like Houston and Miami to play. Never did. Wish I had. Sort of forgot about it. And then in the pandemic, our squash club here in Charleston was closed down. And we're all bummed about it. A lot of us started playing pickleball just for something to do. Friend of mine in Philly, squash friend, said, well, we're playing this crazy new Spanish game called Padel. You should really come up to Philly and play. And it sort of clicked in my brain. And I quickly, looked on YouTube, watched some points, was basically got a group of guys from here, was on the next plane up to Philly, play at Philadelphia. Then just tried to play any chance I could get after that. Went to San Diego for a squash event, played out there, played more times in Florida. And then sort of finally, we have one of our squash club members here in Charleston. He has some property about 2 hours north of here in Columbia, South Carolina, that he had built a squash court on. And he was getting ready to build a second squash court. And I was like, Harry, before you do that, let's hop on a plane down to Miami and let me show you this other game. Like, if we're going to put money towards building something, I think we should maybe do this. And he was very skeptical. We got probably 6 of us from Charleston, hopped on a plane, flew down there. Peter Cheshire at Kinetic is a friend of our squash pro here, so he was nice enough to get us on their court there. We played about 3 games, and Harry just turned around and looked at me, and he's like, "Yes, this is what we're building." So a group of us got together, pooled some money, and built the first court in South Carolina, and only court for now on his property up there. And it's just been amazing. I mean, they have a small group of players, but they got people that only played pickleball are playing. All the squash people are playing, and now nobody's playing pickleball or squash. It's just paddle all the time.
So when you
that was kind of my long background into the sport, and now I'm like everyone else, just sort of hopelessly addicted and trying to be involved in any possible way that I can.
Good.
So when you came to Miami, what club did you go to try out the paddle?
I've played just only at Kinetic, which is really Boynton Beach. And I've been to Wynwood, but unfortunately did not play. Now I know there's just endless clubs and opportunities to play. So I will probably be back down there in the near future.
Okay. Austin Edwards, right? Not Austin Powers.
Oh, he said Austin Powers.
He's a jokester.
That's right.
This guy's a jokester. But anyways, how did you get into the newsletter thing? I mean, obviously you started playing paddle, and you were playing a squash before, which I played squash before as well, and tennis. Right. And now I assume you're like everybody else who gets addicted to paddle after, and so how did your passion come to be to create this newsletter?
Well, I'd always been interested in writing for Squash Magazine, which I never did. I just got too busy with my day job for years. Always sort of regretted that. And honestly, it came out of I was just craving to play or learn anything more I could about the game. And there was just such a lack of information, US-based information on the sport. And, there was a handful of things you could tell they weren't based in the US. They weren't necessarily, especially club stuff, wasn't the most reliable information. And it just sort of occurred to me that there was a vacuum. There was just nothing there. So I was like, this is going to get so big in the US so fast that I'd like to be the first mover in that space. And I reached out to Ollie Morgan and Mike Dale that run the paddle paper in the UK, because I thought they were doing sort of the best job of, clean site, good journalism. It obviously wasn't just an affiliate marketing site or anything like that. And I just kind of picked their brain a little bit and asked about maybe doing some US articles for their site. And we wound up deciding to partner and to start a just US-based site. We knew there was going to be so many articles and so much interest. And so I've just taken on the content side of all of that. And as I'm sure you all understand, just buried in story ideas and working out. And it's just such a neat time in this world.
Yeah.
The way things are taking off.
Yeah, but your background, it's editor, writer. I mean,
yeah, I worked as a copywriter in the financial world for years. So definitely writing, but on sort of a different side of the money making side of it, than the editorial side. But it's nice to be writing about something I'm really passionate about now. And I certainly learned a lot about investing in the stock market, which was great. But this is a little more fun at the end of the day.
So what's the vision for Padel State? What are you trying to do there? What's your main goal?
I think just be the go-to site in the US for all things paddle, kind of like on your podcast. Certainly giving people on the playing side, giving people plenty of information on where they can play, how they can improve their game. And then also I think there's a big opportunity on the big business side for, court builder, e-commerce, apparel companies. I think it is sort of both sides of the coin, consumer and the business side, consumer being the player.
And where do you gather all the information?
At this point, it's just being thrown at me by people hear that there's a site like this now, and people are reaching. I got PR people reaching out. LinkedIn, I've got a ton of leads, and I don't see that, again, with the rate that everything's growing at, I don't see that slowing down at any point. So it's not like I'm ever having to dig very hard for article ideas or new information. Even in just this, which you may have seen, I published what I think is the most comprehensive list of clubs and courts in the US. And
yes.
Even just since publishing that maybe 5 days ago, I've had multiple people reach out and let me know that there's now a court. I think it opened yesterday, actually, or 2 days ago in Phoenix, the Camelback Club in Phoenix. There's one in Tucson now. Another one besides Tactica in San Diego, I wasn't aware of. A court in Vermont, which is amazing to me.
Vermont, really? Where? That's interesting. Where?
Yeah, it's at a little sort of boutique resort that built I can look it up, the exact name. I want to say it's like the Baybound Inn or something like that, right outside of Battleboro, Vermont. And it is an outdoor court, so it'll be a very seasonal deal, but it just looks gorgeous. And it's really neat to me to see paddle expanding to places like that, obviously. big places, Miami, Houston, the growth there is awesome too. But when you start getting it in these really niche kind of destinations, I think that's really neat.
I'll
Speaks
tell
to
you
the future of the sport.
I'll tell you a story that you put. I'm a minority owner at a club in San Francisco, Park Paddle.
Right.
And,
yeah, congratulations.
Yes, and I forward the article that you wrote about us on the club, and the owners were so excited and so happy. All the details that you got and all that. They were super, super interested, and they were so pumped. They're like, "Where'd you get this? Who's this guy?" and all that.
Right.
And that's why we decided. So I really appreciate that, and we need putting the information out there. And there's so many things going on that it's great that you're putting the time and the effort and the passion behind this. I mean, we're trying to do the same thing with the podcast. Try to bring the awareness on the growth of the sport here in the States. So we really appreciate that when we saw
well,
it.
And likewise.
Yeah, and it's growing so fast. Information changes so quickly when this sport is growing so fast. It's incredible.
Yeah. So
I say this too to a lot of people. The only thing that I've experienced in my life quite like this was really the rise of the internet when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Just in terms of, I know that's sort of a grandiose statement, but just the sort of the Wild West of people are going in 100 different directions. And everyone knows which direction it's ultimately headed, but you're not sure what the best course for yourself is.
Yeah.
But that's an exciting time. There's a lot of uncertainty, but I think there's also a lot of opportunity. And so it's a great time.
I see great signs, very positive signs. When a couple of weeks ago, I was up in San Francisco and we went to this vineyard in the middle of Napa Valley. I mean, and
I saw your pictures. From
yes, and it was like unbelievable. when you see these guys, using the space they have to put a paddle court, that's a great sign for the sport. You know what I mean? So we're it's the only way it's going up, and it's going to go up faster and faster. So it's great. So tell us a little bit about you play competitive, you play for fun,
Right now, other than trips that I take, like we went to Chicago a couple times this fall to play there at the club in Mundine, and got to meet Rudy and his brother, who are great guys. I think Rudy's maybe been on your podcast.
Yeah.
But the only opportunity for me to play right now is to drive 2 hours to Columbia, which I'm doing every couple weekends, and try to get as much in as I can there. Certainly don't know that I'm a very skilled player, but I'm a very passionate one. And we're part of a group of guys that are working on actively trying to bring courts to Charleston as well. So hopefully that happens sooner than later, and I'll be able to play more.
So I was going to ask that. How many clubs are there around you? You just said there's one 2 hours away from you. Is that pretty much it?
That's the only court in South Carolina at the now. In North Carolina, I believe there's Charlotte Club, which I've been in touch with their owner, and I'm going to go up there and play hopefully in the next couple of weeks. And then I believe there's a private club in Raleigh, but that would be the closest. I know something just opened in Atlanta, but again, that's a 5-hour drive for me.
Yeah.
Do you see anything, any clubs opening up in a short period of time?
Probably not in the next 6 months or anything, but I would like to think maybe in the next year there'll be a real push. I think courts will start to be added to private tennis clubs and things like that. Here in the Charleston region, we have some pretty high-end golf clubs that tend towards that. But, those aren't really going to be publicly accessible courts necessarily for their membership.
Yeah, the one in Raleigh, it's I play a tournament there. It's in North Hill.
That's
and they have, it's a beautiful club, and they put, they took some space and they put 3 paddle courts, and everybody's in love with it. It's really exciting.
I think that's just the test, right? To see what they get, what the reaction is, and see if there's enough people who are interested in paddle to create a club.
Yeah.
So it's good.
So tell us, who is the co-owner or the co-author that you put on your LinkedIn? Is there somebody else?
I just really partnered with Ollie Morgan in the UK, and that's just more from a structural setting up the site and everything. The content's 100% on me at this point, but he just has a background in that. But yeah, at this point, hopefully down the road, we will have the bandwidth to get some more writers from around the States that can cover things, maybe regionally can cover a little more intently. But yeah, for right now, it's a full-time job for me.
So I mean, and let me ask you the thing: are you doing for free, or you get some advertisers and things like that?
We do have advertisers. It's almost for free at this point, we'll say. Which again, I think to be the sort of leading voice in this space is the upside opportunity is there. So it's really worth the time and investment that I think will pay dividends down the. And even to be honest, to the connections I've made in the last month since I started this are just invaluable to me.
Yeah.
Especially if we look to bring courts to Charleston and just various other business opportunities. I've had another company reach out to me that's a sort of really high-end pickleball event and retail company that are looking to expand into the paddle world. So I've become sort of an advisor. Again, just connections like that are invaluable.
So do you see yourself opening up a club in the future with the right investor, or right team?
I would like to help facilitate that. At the end of the day, I don't know if I don't have any personal experience opening or running clubs, but I am a pretty good cat herder. I can tend to get the right people and the right conversation. That's a skill I've picked up over the years in squash, especially double squash. Getting 4 grown men together at the same time is very challenging. People have kids and everything. But, certainly like to help drive the effort, we'll put it that way, to get courts in Charleston and sooner than later.
So, and on your blog newsletter, I mean, how do you get people interested about? I mean, how do they how do they find out about the Padel State?
Honestly, a lot of it right now has been LinkedIn. That's been a pretty valuable, and we will obviously expand into other social media spaces. I've been somebody my whole life, except for LinkedIn. I've never been a social media person. So I don't have a lot of experience in that, but I think once we expand into that, it'll help. And certainly I just reach out to the clubs I've been to, the pros I've met, the owners I've met, like the Parker Racket Club, which is right outside of Denver. I played there this year and met Barry Riddle is the owner. Robert, I'm not sure how to say his last name, Robert, the pro there. Certainly, as soon as I started the site, I sent it to them, asked their players to start reading it, following it, giving me, any feedback they could or ideas for articles.
That's excellent.
So I think at this point, it's sort of grassroots, sort of guerrilla strategy.
And is this the first one that you, the one we read, is that the first one you came out, or there's a previous one, or is that always changing?
The site itself, or?
Well, the last one that that you talk about, the Hexagon Cup and all that, is that the first one that you put out, or is that's always changing?
Yeah. But yeah, we're constantly adding to it all the time.
So it's sort of like a blog website, pretty much, where you're constantly.
It's gonna keep going.
Keep going.
Shooting for 4 new pieces a week. At minimum, and sometimes that ebbs and flows depending on whether it's just sort of a quick news blurb, like PPL news comes out, we publish that. Other times I'm working on longer features which require interviews and more research, and but yeah, we're trying to at least every day, every other day, I'm trying to put something new out there.
I like how you pluralize we, but it's only you.
Yeah, that's
we.
It's the royal we.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you always need help, right? So
yes,
I'm sure you have contacts there that I think give you, help you out a little bit.
Yeah. I will see on your LinkedIn page, Joe Gross from Paddle Logs always like your posts. I know. Are you in touch with them, or?
I talked to Joe, quite a bit. First, with your club in San Francisco, I reached out to him, and I'm actually going to do a longer article here shortly. We're going back and forth about their hurricane-proof court that they've developed, which is a huge deal.
Yeah.
And especially you all know in Miami, and certainly here in Charleston, that's that's going to be a big deal. And it's something we've actually had questions about here in Charleston when we've approached people about doing courts or a club. Can they withstand? Should we get a big storm? Could they withstand that? And what would be the sort of impact to their investment? And so So that's great. But yeah, I talked to Joe for a bit.
I know. He always liked your post and all that. So that's awesome, man.
I would encourage anybody that has information or ideas or anything to reach out. I mean, that's another thing
You're looking at us, baby, right there. We know.
That's one thing I love about the paddle world right now. I mean, people are profiting from it, setting up as a business, but it still has that grassroots community feel where we're all kind of in this together. And that's just a great feeling. You don't get that maybe a little bit in the squash world, because the squash world is sort of small and tight knit, but it's just a special sort of community to be a part of. And at this point, I feel like if you are a paddle player and you can go most places in the country, be embraced by other communities just by virtue of the fact that you play the sport and know it. So yeah, just really reach people reaching out, giving ideas, feedback, anything. Certainly I come across a lot of new club openings, news on my own, but it can't be everywhere all the time. So if anybody knows of something that I don't, certainly.
Yeah, and if you need any help, we're here,
Yeah, we're here to help, partner, work together in anything we can.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a ping pong, match going back and forth. We gather all the information from you. I mean, we do, flash news. I mean, the things that you put out. I mean, we're doing the same thing in a different, technology, pretty much.
We're Miami.
When did the podcast start?
We started maybe a year, but
probably less.
Yeah, we had our own podcast separate. I mean, our own, channel separate, and then we partnered together. For
the last 6 months, I would have to say.
Yeah, and then we're trying to gather information and bring people together.
But prior to that, we were very involved here in the community in Miami. I mean, there's a lot of paddle here. And this is what you play. So
where do you all primarily play?
Well, I'm a coach. I'm a full-time coach. I coach at Wynwood. My whole life evolves around paddle, including the podcast and everything related to paddle. It says. For Cesc, same thing. He has a different,
I mean, I play in all the clubs, but my favorite is the reserve. That news thing I just did that.
I've seen photos.
Yeah, I'm a member there, so the benefits there are just amazing. And if I have guests come over, obviously bring them there. It's a lot nicer. But I play Wynwood. If it's indoors, there's the open paddle and ultra, because if it rains,
and Paddle Life too.
And Paddle Life, of course.
Yeah.
Right. And there's other clubs that are opening up right now that we've talked to, and they've been in the process of opening up for the last 3 years, and it's about to happen. There's so many plans, so many permits, so many things going on.
Right.
Here in Miami, it's a little difficult to get those permits. It's so slow. You're looking at, if you were in a normal state or even county, if you were going to put up a sporting facility, you may be 12 to maybe 18 months, right? Normal.
Yeah.
Here, double or triple that.
Yeah.
Because it's so slow. So there's so many people who want to open up clubs, have the funding, have the plans, everything, have the partnerships, but they're just, they just can't. It's just stumbling because of permits. Just little things like waste, traffic, this, that. There's just so many things that Miami is just so slow at, and because it's new and there's so much going on in Miami to start with right now, so many people coming in, that even makes it more difficult, so that's the problem here. There's more people than actual courts, so which is a great thing when it comes to paddle, right? But getting more paddle courts in Miami seems to be a little bit difficult.
And to tell you the truth, my background has been, I grew up playing paddle and tennis, and then I came here to the States with a scholarship, and I ended up playing tennis. So, but what I see now with paddle, it's never seen anything like it. I mean, the demand for people to learn how to play the sport, never seen anything like it, and not even tennis. My background has been tennis for the past 20 years. And it's just incredible. I mean, it's so rewarding to see all these people trying to walk into the court and then get addicted within 5 minutes,
And that's the biggest problem.
We have, to that end, one of my good squash friends who is sort of helping me drive the charge to get courts here in Charleston, he's got 4 kids, all college age or older, that have wanted nothing at all to do with sports their whole life. They're very smart, artistic, they're very sort of anti-sports, won't play tennis with them, won't play squash. But they did a about 6 months ago, did a trip down to Buenos Aires as a family, and Todd just begged his kids to get on the court with him. Again, 10 minutes, and they were, all 4 of them were just like, can we play this again tomorrow?
Yeah.
And the next day, and now they've all gone back to their respective cities, Chicago, LA, and are playing there. I mean, it's just wild to see. That just doesn't happen with other things.
And that's the thing, because I think it's just a lot easier. You know, with tennis, my background is also tennis and then squash. It's hard to get, you know, a partner at the right level, you know, to play. And be social as well, you know. So this is perfect. This is an actual racket sport. You can get in there. All different levels can just start playing. There's, you know, you meet people, you know, that have the same, you know, passion as you do, and you just start playing. Yeah. It's like you want to get back. And as soon as you start learning a little bit, like you learn, let's say, an aerial shot here, you want to go more. And start practicing. And okay, you learn the back wall here, and like you want to go there and learn more. So it's kind of like
I know the feeling.
Addictive, and you want to master it. You know, if you're competitive and you've come from other racket sport, you want to master it, and that's what happens. And you do have a great community here. I mean, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I think the sport is like the perfect level of dynamic. I think tennis is maybe not, I won't say boring, but it's just pretty straightforward. And then I think something like squash can be a little intimidating for most people because it feels like there's a little too much to figure out.
Yeah.
But like paddle's that sweet spot where you can understand getting the ball back and forth over a net, and then you can start building in, you know, more dynamic shots. And
you know, I'll tell you an example that I tell everybody. It's that I can get a beginner student, you know what I mean, that never play any racket sports. And I take him into the tennis court, and for me to coach him how to play tennis, it will take him months and thousands of dollars. In paddle, within half an hour, they're having the best time ever because it's very easy. You're playing stuff of a box, you know. Even though squash is very difficult. You have the flat ball, you know, the walls. I mean, you got to be very low. It's difficult to understand, but paddle has that combination that it's just the perfect blend of fun, challenging, mental, physical, tactical, everything into one sport.
It's very broad. It captures a lot of you know, a lot of the market. Yeah, you know, and that's, I think, what's key. Like you said, tennis can be boring. You know what I'm saying? Especially now, the new tennis. You know, all baseline, and it could get a little boring. But as you get good in paddle, there's all these different techniques. There's a strategy. It lasts longer. You know, there's more shots involved. You know, it's pretty. And that's, I think, what attracts, you know, tennis players, squash players, racquetball players to start playing paddle.
Sure.
Yeah. So Austin, at the end of the podcast, we do a quick rapid fire golden point questions. Have you played the golden point, right? It's either you you win it or you lose it.
Lost a few.
So here we go. Where do you prefer to play, right or left?
Left.
Do you like play indoor or outdoor?
Outdoor on a nice day, but being in South Carolina, there can be some hot days that I'd rather be indoors. But yeah, outdoors if possible.
So how would you define your game? Power or finesse?
Finesse and patience.
Good. That's
the two things that you don't have. Your favorite club, paddle club.
Oh wow, I'm gonna have to shout out to the club that I'm part of in Colombia, the Colombia Rackets Club. That's I help get that court built, and I love those guys up there. And I would not be playing as much as I did if it were not there.
Good. Wow. Dejada or by 3?
I'm sorry.
Dejada. Do you know the terms, the paddle terms?
Some, but
Dejada is sort of like a drop shot, like a volley drop shot, or by 3. You know, by 3 that you hit it outside the court.
I'll say by 3.
Really? That's a tough one.
That's for the tennis player. He can do it. Most tennis players can do it. The second serve.
and squash as well. Used to the overheads.
Okay. Bandeja or víbora?
Bandeja.
Oh, wow. You know those terms.
No, I'm not saying I'm good at these. I'm just what I prefer.
Right.
Good. What is your best shot?
Wow, that's good. I'm lob. I'm a good lobber.
Wow, that is an important shot. That's one of the most important shots in that game.
I tell all my students, in paddle, you're as good as your lob. If you can hit good lobs, they can never attack you.
Wow. All right, so your worst shot?
Everything else. Worst shot. That's maybe my serve, honestly. I think my serve could use some work for sure.
Really?
And probably some coaching from somebody in your level.
There you go. Come over to Miami, baby. Move on.
Anytime.
I would love to.
Good. So who is your favorite professional player that you love to watch?
LeBron.
Wow.
El Lobo.
He's just in so many videos that I've seen, and I've never seen yet Pro Paddle live, but yeah, it's a special player.
Yeah, he's one of the few players that is adaptable to both sides. He used to play back, and now he's playing forehand, and he's absolutely fantastic in both sides. So that's pretty good.
Has a great partner too. Go on, man. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so
that's a big key.
Yeah. All right, so your favorite racket, your paddle racket.
I'm using a Wilson right now. That's a tough question. I don't know that I've played with enough different bats to really have a great informed opinion.
So which Wilson are you using? The Bella Pro?
The
all red
I would have
one?
to get a look.
Was it all red?
Yeah, red and black.
Red and black.
Oh, red and black. Yeah, the old version of the one of those. Yeah.
Okay.
I want to say it's like a Bella Pro.
Yeah, Bella, but they have like 3 different models. Good, man. Good. Who's your favorite partner that you love to play with?
Partner. Of these guys I play with in Colombia, they're all different. That's kind of what's fun about it. They're all different levels, different talents.
Is there like the one that he's the perfect date for a paddle game?
Shout out to him. Come on, shout out to him.
All right, we'll say my friend Todd Abaddon from here, he's just a great tennis player, and he hasn't played a ton, but he's just adapted. So
Tom Abaddon from his dad lives in West Palm Beach in Wellington.
Exactly.
You're kidding me. Yeah. I know him very well.
Really?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yes. So Todd's who I mentioned, who took his kids down to Buenos Aires.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, for sure, man. Excellent. I know the family very well.
Yeah, Todd's he was one of the people that went down with us in that Florida trip when we were showing Harry Miley when we went to Kinetic to try to convince him to build a court. Todd was one of the people that was with us, and his father actually came out and got on the squash court a little bit. You know,
yeah,
probably in his early 90s.
Yeah, he used to be very good avid tennis player.
Yeah, and Todd's just, as you know, is just an all-around exceptional athlete.
That's awesome. That's great. It's a small world.
And he's actually one of our main guys that, along with me, is trying to drive courts here in Charleston. So,
that's awesome. Anything we can do to help, reach out to us. Beautiful.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, Golden Point. Do you take it or your partner take it?
Depends who my partner is.
Yeah.
if it was Todd, he would take it. I would give it to him.
Gotcha.
Do you have a favorite coach by any chance?
I don't. I guess, honestly.
First one, finally. All right. During your game, do you drink water or do you drink water and electrolytes?
Just water.
Just water.
So what are your goals for 2024 with Paddle State?
I would say to just rapidly increase our readership and our scope, which I think will hopefully happen. Just continue to be a sort of leading content provider, get really quality content out there, make sure we're sort of on top of any developments that happen. Again, I'm saying we, the royal we. Maybe some point in 2024 there will be a we component to it. I'll have some other people around the country that are hoping to contribute.
Great, Austin. Thank you for coming on the show. I want to wish you all the luck, and if you ever want to come down here, man, we'll love to put together a game.
Yeah, well, it's really, like I said, it's really exciting time and space, and I think personally, I'll look back on this 5-10 years from now and be like, wow, back when I did that podcast when there was only 35 clubs around the country, and I'll just be like, that's amazing. That was ever a thing. So it's a real treat to meet you all. And
by the way, I'm gonna send you some information about the Pan American Games for you to post it on the thing.
Yes, please do. And good luck. It looks amazing.
And I'm also part of the team at RacketX, and I know you put an article there. And if I would love for you to come down to the event, to the expo, that'll be fantastic, man. We can get some great
I'm planning
content
on it with these guys that I mentioned, the pickleball company that wants to expand short court. I think all three of us are going to come down. They're very keen to be in that space. And
yeah.
let
me know anything I can help, and if you're coming down, we'll set up some paddle games, and we'll get you going into the paddle court, man.
I really appreciate it. I'll certainly take you up on that. I'm a traveler, so you don't have to invite me twice.
We're building 4 paddle courts inside the convention center, so it's going to be exciting.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, so this is going to be super exciting. So good.
Well, I'll look forward to that for sure. And you'll probably see me before that, honestly.
Let's do it, babe.
Great.
Excellent.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Austin.
Good
Great.
talking.
Thank you.
Guys so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Guys, if you haven't already, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications.
And remember, it's free $99. It doesn't cost you anything to hit that subscribe button.
Thanks for tuning in to Padel Smash Academy. We hope you'll find our videos informative, helpful in improving your game and learning all things paddle.
So until next time, keep improving your game. And remember, learn, play, and share.